All right, what's up, viewers of ECPPD TV, which is not a real channel, but again, it is today. Mason's already laughing at me. So today what we have is we got my good client, Joey T, okay? Joey Bag of Bagels, Joey Donuts, Joey Numbers, all right? This is a wicked car. It's wicked. If you ain't seen it, all right? It's Tom Brady's car. I'm just joking. But good client, friend of mine, Joey T. He's from Baston, all right? We parked the car here in the shop. We got to fix it. Basically what happened was we coated this car. I don't know why you're looking at me. You don't need to do that. We coated this car and it got hit. So all this has to get redone. You can see how terrible that looks. So we have to recoat this, but the shop decided to also lay their tools all over it, and I don't know what they did. Over here, it looks like some guy's butt was rubbing on it or something. I don't know. It was like all this here, like that is terrible. So now we got to redo the whole car. So initially it was we were going to do some of the car. Now I gotta redo the whole car. This car was mint when it left here, and you can just see that. I don't know if they put a cover on here and were dragging on it or what, but they completely destroyed the car. So now we gotta fix it. Mason's not happy. So we're gonna show you the process here. We've already washed it, chemically decontaminated because it actually had metal shards on the paint. I don't know if they were grinding or doing work to it. The car sat in a garage for like 6 months. God knows what they did to it, but we're gonna fix it. So unfortunately things like this can happen, and this is just a testament showing that ceramic coatings are not bulletproof. Nothing's bulletproof. That didn't even make sense. Nothing's bulletproof. So I don't know what they did to it. Joey doesn't even know what they did to it, but we're gonna fix it. So this is basically going to be the process of refixing a car that was coated. So we're going to, like I said, we already decontaminated it chemically. We clay barred it. And now we're going to do a 2-step paint correction and recoat it with Geon Flash. So we're going to put a better coating on for him, get this thing looking to square one. So you are going to see some time lapses of some of the polishing, some before and afters, and a really pretty shiny, that's not pretty, a really wicked car when we're done. So we're gonna start getting this thing fixed up here. If you can't tell, we've had coffee. We're gonna have more, and we're gonna get this thing looking mint. Stay tuned. All right, we're already finding our first bits of body shop hackedness. So the trim looks, oh look, it's rubber, oh, we're gonna paint over your trim right here. So we see this all the time, and it's really disheartening because body shops and detail shops don't get along, and this is why. I mean, they just painted, they didn't even tape it off all the way. You can even see down here, it's just like, if you're gonna paint it, just paint the whole thing, or tape off the right way. Like, look at Mason is taping off because we are polishing and we don't want to damage the trim. But maybe they buy cheap tape. That's how they save money. I don't know. But we're gonna tape this off back here so we don't mess up the vinyl, which we did the first time. Let's see on this side. Oh, what do you know? They don't know how to tape things off. It's sad because it's such a nice car and stuff like that. You'll have to replace that trim, which it's not super expensive. It's just a pain in the butt to the customer. But yeah, this is the only area that was painted, and they can't even lay tape down. And then I didn't really look down here. It doesn't look bad, but I'm sure we'll find more stuff. So, yep, stay tuned. Jake, Jake's just walking. Look, you just ruined the shot. here is body work at its finest. Not really. Fish eyes, scratches in the paint that was basically wiped down before the paint was dry, so that's actually in the paint. And the orange peel is absolutely insane. You've got some what looks to be heavy overspray, just improper use of a paint gun. We've got some pigtails up here. I don't know if you can pick them up. You kind of see them right there. Just sloppy work. It's really sad because this car was beautiful. Now I'm gonna try to fix this. I'm gonna sand it and see what I can do, but this is bad. And I know I'm not gonna get an accurate paint reading on this because they just probably globbed over this with body filler. No, it's actually metal. So they actually did their job somewhat right. But you've got just scratches and scratches. It's hard to see because I was just polishing on the trunk here, but you can just see the orange peel, how sloppy of a job this is. This wasn't even cut and buffed at all. Just sloppy. So we're gonna try to fix it though. All right, so the problem that we're running into with the terrible body shop work is this paint here was never stripped off. So we take preventative measures to make sure we're not burning through paint, things like that. So if I take the factory paint, which is right here, and meter it, we're at about 5.13 mils, which is kind of standard. It's not super thick, it's not thin. And then we come over here where they repainted, and it's 7.84 mils, which is not thick at all. So there's not really a ton of paint to work with. They just kind of sprayed over existing paint. So I've already buffed and polished this section here, and you can see it's at 6.91. So what I don't want to do is go any deeper and potentially burn through this because you'll see it. It'll burn right through, and then the paint that was under there will come to the surface and you'll see a difference in the texture and everything. So unfortunately, I cannot wet sand this because they didn't put a lot of paint on here. They basically did a couple coats, and if I wet sand this, like I said, it's... But see, look at that reading right there. There must be body filler there or something, or they just caked the paint on. Yeah, see, it's just that there's too much inconsistency in the paint job. It goes from 7 and you move it over 3 inches. 7, 3 inches more, 11. So there's no consistency with how this was sprayed. It was basically just globbed on. And like I said, the factory paint job is 5.29 to 5.13, where I've already buffed and polished is 7.35, and some other areas were a little bit lower, 7.24. Where that scratch was is probably thinner too. Yeah, 6.96, because I was trying to knock down that scratch. It improved it a little bit. If you look at this light here, it's still grainy, but compared to that light there, I have not touched that section. Look how distorted that one looks, and this one looks cleaner. It's not perfect, and there you can still see that big scratch. So I'm gonna do a couple more passes on it to knock it down, but like I said, unfortunately, they did such a sloppy paint job on this. This scratch that's right here, let me move. This scratch that's right here is actually in the paint. You can actually see how it's the paint wasn't fully dry, and they did a prep wipe, and it gouged the paint. So that's gonna be really hard to get out if it's even removable. It's just a shame because this car was in such good shape when it left here, and 10 months later it's destroyed. But we're gonna get it looking better. So. Oh, shit. Special guest, paint inspector Brad in the house today. Veteran and the CEO of WTT. You? Yeah, dude. Like, look at down here too. Well, there was some. Yeah, look at this. Like somebody was leaning on this thing. We didn't touch it.
Somebody said, "Oh, I'm good with a buffer."
Yeah. What's going on here?
Need some drugs?
I thought you had him in there with no bag.
No.
That would be brave.
That would be something.
All right, so here is the side of the car that one of the areas that got repainted, and you know, we did what we could, but basically a further explanation onto why we couldn't or we didn't want to jump just right into wet sanding this whole panel. One is part of this car, I mean most of this car, all of this car had to get redone to a certain extent. There was more work that had to be done here in the back of the car, because when they repainted it, they just buffed the heck out of it, and there's a lot more swirls, a lot more scratches. But I showed you guys using the paint meter here. This is why you don't want to just jump into wet sanding, and why these meters they're a good guide, but you can't really live and die by them, because you can live and die by them. But basically, so where we're at on this paint is when you put it on the car, and it reads 7.23 mils. So understand that's maybe 3 sheets of paper thick from the bare metal to the top clear coat. The factory paint, this paint was never touched. This is 5.39. So you might sit there and say, well, that's 2 mils thicker. I don't know if they stripped this down to bare metal or if they just repainted over the existing paint. Chances are they just repainted over the existing paint. So in theory, if I take 7.79 and subtract it by 5.39, I only have 2¼ mils, which is not even as thick as a sheet of paper. I mean, maybe a sheet and a half if you're lucky. That's very, very thin. So if I were to sand this and then buff it, you would see the old paint come through the top, and it wouldn't be uniform, because when they repaint these, they scuff them all up, and then they just put a layer or two of paint over and then just re-clear coat it. You would see that. So that's why in this instant, all we could really do is buff and kind of monitor how thin the paint is and how, see how it thins out basically. We did what we could, but you never want to go too aggressive, because you can't go back. You can go least aggressive and go more, which is kind of what we did. And it does look better. Up top here, it cleaned up very well. There's still these fish eyes and some things, but if you look at what we did to the factory paint looks absolutely flawless. There's a little bit of lint on the car, but it looks great, okay? Here still looks very good, but look at all, you can see some of the scratches and the orange peel. It just makes the paint look distorted. All those little flecks that you're seeing in the paint, that's all orange peel. So really, we can only do so much. This really needs, one of two things needs to happen. It needs to be completely redone the right way, which is how it should be, or you'd have to work with a body shop, wet sand this whole area, buff this whole area, and then chances are there were places that would need to be repainted, because sharp edges like this, you're gonna burn through them. I don't care who you are, what you are, all these edges here, it's way too risky. You have to work with a body shop to wet sand it, buff it, and then chances are, and that's why there's these pigtails and things, because they sanded it, but then they didn't want to go too hard with the buffer, which, I mean, good on them for not burning through the paint, but they should have really fixed that, because this panel doesn't look the way it should at all. If you look over on the other side, it's not as bad. There's still orange peel, you can see from the light, and there's still, fish eyes and things in there, but this panel isn't anywhere near as bad as that panel. The panel still looks great, but there's not as much orange peel. You can still see some of it popping up here, and unfortunately this is just something that it's out of our control. To wet sand the whole thing and run the risk of burning through the paint, we don't want to have to deal with that. So we kind of use our best judgment and the experience that we have to fix that. So overall, the car did come out very well, but areas like this where, the car was just painted very, very poorly, and you can see that there's more fish eyes right there. There's only so much we can do. All these little flecks and all these specks and things you're seeing, it's all the orange peel refracting off the light. And like I said, there's scratches where they actually gouged the paint because they didn't let the paint sit too long and they wiped it. So that's what you're seeing, some of those scratches in the paint. So those are actually in the paint. They've embossed the paint. So again, to try to fix those, you run the risk of potentially burning through the paint. Overall, the car does look fantastic. We're gonna back it out in the light and look at it and see how it looks. I don't think you're gonna be able to notice this too much. These lights are meant to show defects in the paint. So that's why we have these set up. So it drives us nuts when we see things like this, but it's ultimately out of our control. Could I fix those? Yes, but at this point, the client it's something where if he really wants it done, we'll bring it back and fix it. We don't want to jump the gun and then hit him with a high price ticket and say, oh, hey, by the way, it's an extra $500 or whatever. But overall, the car looks great, so we're gonna back it out here and see how it looks in the sun. All right, so now we are applying the ceramic coating because we had to strip the old one off. So essentially what we do here is apply this to every inch of the paint. We wait for it to flash and cure, and then we wipe it. During the flashing process, the solvents are expunged and the remaining silica, titanium, whatever agents are in the ceramic bond to the paint. So it's a meticulous process that, like I said, we go around the whole car and we apply it. You can see these colors here, those are the solvents. They're gonna dry, they're gonna be more visible as this. The term we use is flashing. It's just a process, and when it's drying, the solvents are what keep it in a liquid state and they help it dissolve. When it's exposed to oxygen and other solvents like water in the air will help it flash quicker, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. But you can see how the more it stays out and the more it's just exposed to O2, those colors come out more. So those are all the solvents that are starting to dry. Here we've already done, you can see how great it looks. guess I'll do more up here. So we're gonna go around the whole car and do this, and then I've got Austin and Mason following behind me, making sure there's no high spots or streaks or smudges or anything like that. Jake is milking the clock again. That's nothing new. Just kidding, Jake. But yeah, I'm gonna start wiping this down here momentarily. You can see how it's being more and more visible. So once it gets to a certain amount, right here we applied it a little bit thicker. So what I'm gonna do is actually spread it out a little bit more. So you can see those rainbows again. So yeah, we're gonna do that to the rest of the car. We've got about this half done. And you can see that the car is looking very shiny, very nice. We'll do an after picture. Jake milking the clock again. What? What? That's what we call him here. Milk the clock Harris, right? He just said yes. Like he's cleaning something he already cleaned 5 times.
Same time.
All right, so we're gonna let these. This section here is pretty much ready to wipe. So I'm gonna put the phone down, get this wiped down, finish the rest of the car, and we'll have an update for you. All right, so here is the Dodge Challenger that we repaired. It received a 2-step paint correction, 3-step in some areas. Some of these tighter ridges here that had curves and sharp lines, we had to polish over, do a final polish on. Most of the flat parts we were able to, knock them down, polish them out. But some of the areas, a lot of these curves and, like I said, sharp spots, we had to go back over just to smooth them all out. It does look better. It's, like I said, this quarter panel is really the only unfortunate area. I mean, from this angle though, it's not super noticeable. It's disgruntling to say the least for me because I know how this car looked before, and like these defects weren't there. But like I said, we did what we could. It's something that this panel would have to get repainted. The bumper really is not too bad. The bumper cleaned up very well. There are some gouges in the bumper. This is a used car, so it's not going to be brand new. This is a 2016 or 2017. But yeah, even this side, which also got repainted, you can still see some of the orange peel. It's not as bad. You can see that, we refined the paint and it looks, it's swirl free. What scratches we could get out, we got out. There's some fish eyes and some other stuff that, not a lot we can do about without sanding it. So you can see a big old fish eye right there. That's just stuff where, the owner's gonna have to talk to the shop and see if they'll reimburse them because, there's more, you can see more fish eyes up here and there's pigtails and sanding marks. And like I said, we did what we could. The factory paint, which was on like the doors and the fenders and the hood, all that looks absolutely pristine. You can see that we were able to get rid of pretty much all the defects that they installed from leaning on the car and things like that. Now this car does have some rock chips and things like that, so the paint's not going to be 100% perfect, but it is presentable and it's way better. You can see some of those chips and things like that in the paint there. But overall, this went from a swirled infested, scratched infested eyesore to a mirror on wheels pretty much. And again, our lights here, these are different spectrum lights. They basically emit different wavelengths. You can see the different colors here, and those show different defects, so we can turn these lights on and off and have a certain wavelength like 4,000 or 5,000, and that's why we have the shop set up like this, so we can actually swap these lights, see different defects at different times. If we can make it look great in here, it's going to look flawless outside. So these lights are meant to present and show defects to us while we're working on the car so we can eliminate them. But overall, the car looks great. We put a lot of work into this. It's 5 o'clock here, 4 guys working on it. Just the kind of work that you can expect from us here at ECPPD. So We hope you've enjoyed this little segment. We'll give you a little mirror shot here. Hope you enjoyed watching this. If you or someone you know has messed up your car, please bring it by. We will fix it. Oh, Jake said he didn't do anything. There's only 3 guys. He was actually laying on the ground right there. Right there. So, but yeah, to say car looks great. If you have damaged your car, or look at Mason. Look at Mason, still working. Look at, still working on the car, making sure everything looks good. But if you're looking for a quality detail or just a laugh, you can come on by, pull up a chair, and watch us work. We charge $19.99 admission. No, I'm just joking.
I did.
But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video. Click the like, thumbs up button, right? That's what it is? Thumbs up button, yeah. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Leave Mason a comment.
Yes.
Mason don't wear cool socks no more. He used to. Look at him. Look at this. No, not your socks. I was just saying how good of a job you're doing. Getting on your hands and knees. Gotta check the corners. But if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, give us a subscribe. We'll see you next time. All right, so here we have the car outside, and this is just to kind of see. The orange peel isn't as prominent as it was in the shop, but it's definitely still there. This is just to kind of show you that, again, the lights that we have in the shop, we need them to show the defects because we want to reduce them. So, you know, from afar, the car obviously looks insane, but you can definitely still see, you know, and I was actually showing my client Joe here. I mean, there's still some of the pigtails up there, but again, it's very hard to tell. In the light in the shop, boom, you can see it right away. You can still tell the difference in the orange peel. I mean, you can see how green it is here. And I just talked to Joe, and he completely understands. It was a rush job, unfortunately. You know, he's got a little spot up here where something got, when they were painting it and somebody flipped it out with their finger. It's, you know, it stinks that it happened, but like I said, overall the car looks great. Now this side, where the orange peel isn't as bad, you can't even really tell. I mean, the car, it's just that one side. There still is orange peel, and you can see it with the reflection in the car behind me. But I mean, if you're standing 4 or 5 feet back, this car still looks ridiculous. So again, what it's about is, you know, the customer's expectations. And yes, it stinks because I know how this car looked before this happened. To most people, they're not going to notice a difference. I mean, obviously from this view, if you look at this car, it looks fantastic. But when you go over it with a white glove, you can see that there are blemishes, you know, in the painting process. But for the most part, you know, you got the sunshot here. I mean, no swirls, no scratches. We reduced what we could. You know, we did what we could with what we had, and that's what we'll do here for you. We'll take care of your car. We're not going to price gouge it. We're going to give you quality work and an end result to match. So I'm going to finish up with Joe here. He does love the car, though. He says it looks wicked awesome. Those are his exact words. I'm quoting him, but it looks great. He said it looks better than when we first did it, and I'll take his word on that. So we're gonna finish up with Joe, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give us a like and subscribe, thumbs up, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you next time.
Leave it all over again. Leave it all over again.